how you define Indian education system in one sentence and Lebanon education system in one sentence.
The system is solid, but at the same time rigid. It needs to be more flexible and prepare new generation of entrepreneurs and innovators rather than...
Most of the top companies have Indian CEOs.
11-year-old Parag Agarwal is the CEO of Twitter.
Listen more, talk less, be decisive when the time comes.
Like to be an entrepreneur. I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that don't work.
It's not necessarily the educational system that would prepare a CEO. It's the lifestyle or the social system. I say in Lebanon, we have a lack of social system that creates entrepreneurs more than
The real education should be evolving mind.
Of course.
We know that if we don't engage with our students, we lose them in the next 2 minutes.
Adaptivity or individualized learning. Those kids come from different backgrounds. They have different conditions, even health conditions or capabilities or whatever. But every kid, we believe every kid has a talent that you need to discover and to encourage to become some shining star in his own or her own way. So there is no someone who can say,
So welcome Dr. Milad to this podcast known as Let's Talk Education. So
pleasure. Thank you.
education, of course, is different in different part of the world. If I talk about India has different education system, similar Lebanon has different education system. If I talk about Dubai, UAE, it has different education system. So working in this education system since long, I just want to have your introduction first, where you can brief me your journey of past decades
Yes, actually.
next 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. First, I had my university studies in Lebanon in electrical and computer engineering, and then went to Japan for a PhD in computer and systems engineering, focusing on AI and robotics. At that time, that was 94 to 98, sorry. So it was something very strange, very early. But I learned something which might be important to say, that in research and technology development, there are two milestones that people don't know about. One is called cutting edge. One is called learning edge. Cutting edge means inside the university or research center, when you reach something, when you reach a breakthrough, this is cutting edge. When you work on this to become a product ready to go to the market, it might take 15 years or 10 years.
Right.
Then you reach a point called leading edge. For example, in the mid-90s, we were working on AI that is similar to what you see today.
Yeah.
And the first time it became commercial or available to the people, to the public, was in 2021 or 2022. So at that time, I learned that development is important, but there are a lot of things beyond the technology. And those are related to user experience, the impact, how people use it, how easy to implement it, and so on. When I came back to the region in 98, I joined the American University in Dubai as a chairman of the Department of IT. And then I realized that during the PhD in Japan, I was working in Toyota because my thesis was implemented in automotive industry. So I came back to a region where there is no automotive, no AI, no robotics. So I had to focus on something that I believe in and I think it's impactful. So I said, okay, let me modernize the educational system. So I went into e-learning, online learning, and so on. During my stay at the American University in Dubai for 4 years, I implemented lots of new ideas in blended learning and merging technology into education, not just to scratch the surface, but to really transform the way people learn and the way teachers or professors teach. And then after that, I had the opportunity to build the first accredited virtual university in the Arab world, that was in Syria, Syrian Virtual University, and I was the provost of that project, the founding provost. And today, SVU has more than 65,000 students spread all over the region from the Gulf to Sweden and Europe. And that was a big challenge because we were ahead of time. Similarly, in AI in the mid-90s, we were ahead of time. And at that time, there was no computing power, no clouds, no hosting power, no internet.
I'll not say ahead of time, too ahead of time. You know?
well, ahead of the market, so to speak. So when we did the first virtual university in the region, that was 18 years before COVID. People discovered online education and remote learning and so on in COVID, during COVID.
Yeah.
So at that time, we had to manage the change. We had to manage so many variables and a lot of resistance. And then after that, we developed until 2020, probably 80% of what has been done in online education at the higher education of the Arab world was done by our groups. So I established a couple of startup companies that are specialized in AI, online learning, and continuing education. Later on, it's called upskilling and reskilling. But while working during like 15, 20 years in this region like this, with, of course, we've been always involved with international research. I mean, in 2001, I was a founding member at MIT in the US for the first online learning organization at MIT, which later became MITx and later became edx.org with Harvard and other universities. And now it's one of the 3 or 4 main online learning portals that are called MOOCs, Massive Open Online Courses, that are available from top companies and universities as short certificates or micro credentials or mini masters or micro masters. So this trend, we've been driving it in the entire region and in international at international level. In 2015, I was managing a company in London, and we worked closely with Cambridge and UCL, and we produced the first global index for measuring critical thinking skills. So that was called PACER, problem solving, analysis,
Yeah.
creativity, interpretation, and that was adopted by OECD, and it became part of the PISA exam that's given to schools globally. And in 2022, the main theme, global theme of PISA was creative and critical thinking based on such a model. So, and then we started saying, okay, we should go to the lower level, the school level education, because the market is changing very quickly and the requirements in the market are changing. Technology is automating a lot of work. AI and modern technology automation is replacing many jobs or changing the requirements of jobs. So
the way of implementation maybe.
So it might not replace you, but someone who knows AI would replace you in the same job.
Yeah.
So until, of course, the COVID came. COVID opened the eyes on areas like remote work, on skills that are required in remote work, remote learning, virtual collaboration, online meetings, and so on. Even here in Dubai, we bring people from abroad, from India or Lebanon or whatever, and we tell them work from home. Okay, let them work from home from their original home. Why to bring them here and pay? They will cost you triple what they would cost you in India. So even the international workforce landscape has changed and is changing by the hour. And the concept of having some kind of innovation hubs in different areas in the world, and those can be talent pools where you can pull talents as you need them in a specific project in Saudi or in London or in Dubai, and assemble a virtual team.
Right.
So those people require a different set of skills and competencies, different from the old educational system, the conventional educational system. The conventional education system, or the school as we knew it since 200 years, that was built to serve the industrial age and the new nation states in Europe, where you had huge bureaucracies.
Yeah.
So you have, for example, you need 10,000 accountants who know the same thing. So the school was designed, and even the university, to mass produce the same quality, people who are stamped with a certain degree, all of them know the same thing. When the world moved to the knowledge age in the past 20 or 30 years, then the requirements in the market are totally different. You need people who are more creative, innovative, they can solve problems, they can think critically with the hell of information that's available on social media and whatever. They need to have a sense of right and wrong, how to how not to go with trends of fake news or even how to make decisions in multi cultural and varied environment and so on. So it's a totally different workplace, totally different landscape. Having students at school memorizing mathematic problems and theorems and scientific phenomena and so on, and coming to the market with all this fed into their heads is no more the function. When I was studying electrical engineering at AUB, at the American University in Beirut, which is one of the best universities in the Arab world, our professor, one professor was teaching us field theory, something related to electricity and so on. And he said, if you don't memorize Maxwell's theorem and you go to the field, you might result in blowing up the machine, because if you do the wrong thing. At that time, you needed either to memorize it or to take with you some papers or books or whatever. Nowadays, with the mobile, you have everything in front of you.
And machines are also automated now.
Machines are automated. Yeah, even when you go inside, since 20 years, we've been working on proximity-based learning. So when you come close to the machine, the system will push to you the right content about the machine, what's going on in the machine, and you can connect to the electronic configuration, and now AI control. So control engineering and AI and all this stuff are all integrated together. So there is no need anymore
to memorize
memorize everything.
Yeah.
You need to have.
I want to ask you one question
Yes.
before we go ahead, because it actually creates interest, because I myself is also an electronics engineer.
Oh, excellent.
So as you mentioned, back in 2019, most probably your graduation was in
That bachelor 1991,
1991.
PhD 98.
I born in 1992. Right. So when you did your graduation, a bachelor's, specifically electrical, your professor mentioned about the Maxwell theorem.
Yes.
Which was the most important part to memorize, so that you can sustain or make something in the industry.
Yeah.
Similar thing was mentioned to me in 2011 when I was in graduation doing electronics. The Maxwell theorem I have to memorize so that I can sustain in my industry going forward.
Not anymore. Now it's
Absolutely.
nowadays.
Yeah. Even I guess in 2011 also that was not required. But our system, specifically education system across the world, I will not specify any country,
Of course.
across the world is still focused on memorizing things. Still
Now,
the education system.
Let me
trend
tell
is
you
going.
something about systems, because I've worked a lot,
Yeah.
even at some point with the World Bank on redesigning curricula and so on. Of course, there are different approaches, different methodologies of different systems, like Indian system or British or American or IB or even French. Those are the schools that are available here in the region. So although it differs from one to another, some of them would focus more on the personality, on the cognitive skills, on the social, emotional, and so on. Now everyone is going that direction as a trend. And as far as we are concerned, we have developed our own, what we call core competencies framework.
Okay.
Which is an answer to a simple question. What can we teach the students that will remain with them after 20 years from now? Because if your son goes into KG1 today, they will quit school after 15 years.
Yeah.
So this is 2040.
Yeah.
And go to the university 4 years or 3 years, then this year 2043, 2044, no one knows what is required then.
True.
And whether what you teach them, what you taught them at school is really impactful and useful for them at that time. So you need to teach them competencies and skills that would stay with them regardless how things would develop. What kind of technologies will be available then?
Yeah.
All what you know today will be obsolete for sure.
Absolutely.
Even the newest technology today will be obsolete by 2044. So, one, you need to teach them some cognitive skills, how to think, critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving, decision making, and so on. Two, you need to build their personality to become entrepreneurs, leaders, citizenship. They should know who they are in order to become global citizens. You
Right.
cannot become global citizens from vacuum. You have to know about your culture and your history and heritage and so on. And of course, digital literacy and AI literacy and so on. The third dimension is social emotional. You cannot live alone. You have to be working with different types of people and with groups of multicultural groups,
Dubai is one of
even
the
virtual.
Dubai is one of the good examples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be it in office or with international groups or international companies. So you have to have the right communication skills, collaboration, empathy, respect for diversity. You should not just prejudge people because of their nationality or background or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fourth important area, which is very, very crucial at that time, nowadays it was not crucial before, and it was highlighted after COVID, is the learning and research skills. You need to teach the student to learn how to learn. If things changed around him, how he can change his learning skills. So the fourth direction is the learning and research dimension, where students should know how to learn if things have changed, if the school introduces new technology, if they are later on in the marketplace and something new was introduced, how to become lifelong learners in order to be future-proof, which means that the future will not throw them out of the market.
Yeah.
And at the same time, how to use research mentality in order to produce some original work. One of the main issues nowadays, because of the lot of information and knowledge available, and with AI and generative AI, which can produce anything for you,
Yeah.
how to teach the student to create their own original opinion in any topic. For example, we used to have some resistance from the teachers saying, we don't want to use generative AI because every student is submitting either homeworks above their actual standard
Like
or
capabilities,
altogether all similar to each other. We said, okay, you as a teacher should change the way you ask the question. Instead of saying, tell me the impact of ozone layer on skin cancer, you should say, go use any kind of AI or search engine to search about this topic, list the literature review or whatever you find, and give me your own opinion of what AI gave you. You need to push the students to what we call higher order thinking skills.
Creating smart.
Not only smart, there are some models in education. For example, Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom is someone who came in the 1950s and said that schools and education institutions, even universities, should develop 6 levels of thinking for the students. 1 is to remember, 2 is to understand, 3 is to apply, and then to analyze, and then to evaluate or synthesize, and then to create. Most of the schools worldwide were focusing on the lower 3, which I call lower order thinking skills, while the upper order thinking or higher order thinking skills, which are called in the US HOTS, higher order thinking skills, very few would focus there, unless you have a really creative teacher who will do individual efforts. It's not part of the system. The system is built to produce mass production of students who pass the average. Now we need schools who produce people who are creative, innovative, and have all these skills that I told you about. So how to build, how to merge these competencies that we spoke about over those 4. I mean, there are so many platforms that I gave you our own framework because it's easy to remember. So thinking, personality, social, emotional, and learning, and being original and researcher. How to integrate this into conventional schools? This is a major problem, and this is why we created Global Education, our company that is specialized in transforming schools from conventional schools to schools that implement this kind of education. And this takes us to the main features of a smart new school compared to a conventional school.
So that's, I guess, 95% schools are struggling from going to conventional to,
Yes, of
the real
course.
education.
And there are some issues with the curriculum and with the government level first. I mean, the curriculum, so many times it's rigid. It has so many subjects. Students, teachers don't have time to even think what they want to do. So they just could go inside, like going inside a factory, and start doing the same thing and repeating the same thing, especially if the teacher is teaching more than one section of the same class. So it becomes robotic repetition. We want to free the teacher from labor work and give him more time to innovate and to be a role model and to teach students about these skills.
So
Thinking, leadership, entrepreneurship, collaboration, empathy.
do you think passion is missing somewhere in teachers if I talk about the education system?
If you transform the teaching into a mechanical process, there will be no passion. Especially that in many countries and many schools, they are underpaid and overloaded.
What countries? Can you specify?
Anyway, I
countries?
mean, even here, students from one school to another.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Lebanese teachers who come here every year, and they keep changing from one school to another. Whoever pays more, they move. And there is no cause of transforming education or even building a new generation of innovators and entrepreneurs. It's becoming a bit commercial sometimes. And governments are far away from this new tendency or philosophy. Okay, many of them speak about it, but implementing it in schools would create a major change. So in our schools, we took it as a group responsibility that, okay, let's not wait for the government to become state of the art.
Yeah.
And let's move along with the guidelines that the local or international curriculum would put on you. However, there are three areas that are extremely important in order to be able to implement what we've been talking about and create a new generation that is really innovative and creative in the marketplace, and they can create value and make change. One, how to use technology to re-engineer the educational, not only just for the sake of telling parents we will increase the tuition because we're using interactive panels inside the class. If you put interactive panel inside the class and the teacher will use it as a whiteboard, this doesn't make any change.
In a sense, yeah.
You need an ecosystem. You need content, interactive, self-explanatory content that is trackable, and this content then can free the teacher from being the main source of knowledge. The content is there, it's adaptive, students can move with it at different pace and speeds and needs, and therefore the classroom should not be anymore a teacher who knows transferring knowledge to a student who doesn't know. Students can look at the knowledge and experience with it and have it with the multimedia, audio, video, even simulations, AR, VR, and so on. They can explain a topic much better than me, even if I consider myself the best teacher of physics or chemistry or whatever.
True.
So students can interact, and they need to be taught to be self-learners if they want to survive in the future marketplace. Otherwise, if they can't keep on ongoing learning continuously, they will be thrown out of the market. So from grade 1, grade 2, and the elementary students can start interacting with some kind of content, of course with a balance of screen time. We're not saying that everything should be on screen. There are a lot of other activities that can be done at school in order to create the balance and the healthy bring up and so on. However, it's important that you have the infrastructure, you have the platform, you have the content, and you have the infrastructure inside the school, and you train the teachers how to utilize those in order to be able to do some kind of individualized learning. Because inside the class with one teacher and 20 or 30 students, there is no way that you do inclusion or individualization. Because you have any class, especially after COVID, where learning loss has been highlighted, inside the same class you have 4 or 5 students that are very weak. You have 10 students that are close to average. You have another 5 students that are good and 3 or 4 very good. How are you going to deal with this variety of students inside the same class with one teacher? Whereas if you flip the class so that the knowledge transfer can become a personal experience at home or a collaborative experience among them outside the class, then each group will learn something different until they catch up with the average of the class. And the strong students who already can cover whatever you want to teach in a short time, they can do something additional or assist the teacher in helping their other colleagues within the class.
Yeah.
And this can be an ongoing experience inside the class and outside the class. Nowadays, they are living on their social media.
True.
The funny thing, we were lucky to go through different phases of technology. From when we were studying at the university with no internet at all, to the early ages of internet. When we started our first virtual university, parents used to come to me and say, how do you want my kid to study from the bedroom or from home? While for me, the best times of my life were the campus experience, and I met my wife there and I hold her hand, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, you can still do that. They can still do that, but learning doesn't have to be there. It can be somewhere else or combined. Sometimes, in my opinion, the future university would look like a kind of a different types of labs and practical issues, and everything theory will be done online at the student's pace and time and so on. So later on, those parents or some similar ones would come in 2010 and say, oh my God, our children are sitting in the same room, each one having his own social media and smartphone and working with some other group. Maybe you can introduce some educational content so that out of 15 hours screen time per day, let them have 1 or 2 hours learning and the other is entertainment. That's fine. So things have changed. Even the resistance and the type of resistance and the type of support. So what I'm saying is that 1, how to use technology. 2, how to integrate those competencies that I told you in every subject. Because a big question was when we were working with Cambridge University in London, do we teach critical thinking as a separate subject or we integrate it into math, sociology, science, Arabic, English, French, Indian, whatever, languages? And the trend is to merge it with other subjects. So when you teach him math or science, you have to teach him the knowledge, but also some skills about how to use this knowledge in real life, and some attitude about how to deal with problems that he sees for the first time. And these 3 are called competency. So this is or subject competency. The ones that I told you about, leadership, critical thinking, these are called core competencies. So the school is under dual pressure. One is that the teachers of the subjects need not to teach the theory only, but also the skills on how to apply it and how to use it in real life. And inject in that, while teaching this subject, think how to integrate critical thinking, for example, or leadership, or group work. And this is where generative AI can play a big role. Because the teacher is already overloaded in just covering the material in class. And he's not necessarily an expert in education or psychology or anything else. He's a physics teacher. So if you tell him, okay, give problems that enhance the critical thinking of the student, this is Chinese for them, or maybe for a Chinese, it's American. And so it's different. Whereas if he has an AI companion, he would say, if I'm talking about constant motion, give me a problem which will require the student to think critically in order to reach a solution, and explain to me how this is done. I, as a teacher of physics or any other subject, would see in front of me a lot of help with AI. So this is where the transformation into competency-based learning would result in a lot of resistance at the teacher's level. And one main solution is to provide the teachers with support. Of course, a lot of training and so on, but AI companion 24/7. He doesn't judge him. He doesn't prejudge him. He doesn't, you can ask him any question. He's never tired. He's never angry, blah, blah, blah. So this is one of the things that we added in our schools to the content itself. So one, we help the teacher by providing the students with auto-corrected, auto-explained content that is rich in videos, animations, real-life experiments, blah, blah, blah. So those would free the teacher from repeating everything inside the class. They can see them at their own speed. The slow students can see them in 2 hours. The quick students can see them in 10 minutes and so on. Second, and of course, this is all tracked, and so the teacher doesn't have to explain it in class, and his time for correction at home is also freed. So he has more time to do other interesting things. Then comes how to integrate critical or these core competencies into the way he or she teaches inside the class, or the assignments or the assessments. Again, adding the AI component, which we call GEAI in our case, which supports the teacher as well as supporting the students. I mean, students from grade 6 and on, this AI is kind of a GPT that we have developed, but we've put a lot of restrictions to keep the discussion within the age group and within the subjects and the topics of the school. You cannot go and discuss anything. If you want to go discuss everything, GPT is there, and Gemini and all kinds of things that are available. But we teach the students ethical use of AI.
So educational GPT.
Educational GPT. Yeah. So even the students can say, I didn't understand what was written in the book or what was explained in class. So please explain it to me and give me some links for YouTubes that I can see that are 100% proven and so on.
Smart learning.
Smart learning. Okay. So this is, again, this will teach the students different types of applications of technology. For example, the example I gave to you about the essay, writing an essay about the ozone and the skin cancer. Now, this education GPT that we created, you can save your discussion as PDF file. So the teachers would require the student to write an essay, for example, or solve even a real life problem via AI, and submit both the essay and the conversation with the AI. And 25% or 30% of the grade would go to the AI conversation, because the way you ask questions to the AI shows the level of your critical and creative thinking, and how you look at and problem solving, and how you look at the problem from different sides. If you just use it as Google search engine, what is skin cancer? It will give you an answer. What is blah, blah, blah? This is low-level thinking. You need to go into deep thinking and to challenge the answers that are given and analyze them and evaluate them and see what you like, what you don't like, so that you can use the AI to help you build your own original opinion. This is being implemented from grade 6 to grade 12. So imagine the students who would go through 6 years of such experiences, even if they take 1 or 2 assignments like this per month. This is a huge experience. By the time they reach university, they're something else.
So the real education should be evolving mind.
Of course. Yeah. And the third area, which is extremely important, is adaptivity or individualized learning. Those kids come from different backgrounds. They have different conditions, even health conditions or capabilities or whatever. But every kid, we believe every kid has a talent that you need to discover and to encourage to become some shining star in his own or her own way. So there is no someone who can say this student is not eligible for education. No, we believe everyone is eligible for education. You need to understand what is the best way of education for them. And in order to understand this, in addition to providing what I explained to you, sometimes some of the kids, especially after COVID, have some kind of learning loss. They have finished grade 5, but half of the topics of grade 5 they didn't understand. Some of them are prerequisite to grade 6. So when they come to grade 6, they cannot understand anything, or later in grade 7. So we use another AI tool, which is called GE Navigator, which builds the entire curriculum as a set of competencies. Every year you have a series of competencies from grade 1 to grade 12, let's say math or sciences or whatever. And each competency has some content to explain it, videos and so on, that are highly selected by top experts. And then a number of mastery questions, which will check if the student have mastered this competency or not. And each competency has a prerequisite. So if a student is in grade 8 studying physics, and then he couldn't get the mastery of that competency, the system, and this technology is similar to GPS in the cars. So if you're driving on the highway, you can have a reroute to put some gas or have some food or whatever. So at every point where the student have difficulty, he or she will be rerouted to the prerequisite. We'll bring the right specific content instead of having a private tutor at home, blah, blah, blah. The system will bring you the right piece of knowledge that you should master before continuing. And if you don't master this, it will give you another one and another one, so that every student will have his or her own learning pathway that is different from others, but all of them will reach the same destination at the end of each year. And even if they don't, the next year, they will keep doing this adaptive learning. So this is for learning loss, very powerful tool, lot of international content, and a full control of the teacher. The teacher can also assign weekly assignments for the students and so on. And the last and most important part is that those kids, sometimes some of them have learning difficulties. Some of them are, we call them average students, smart students, fast students, slow students. But in neuroscience and in educational psychology, these have definitions, and these are phenomena that you need to deal with in a professional way. So it's not sufficient to look at the academic performance of the student. You need to understand his cognitive skills or cognitive abilities. This is why we use an international standards assessment called Energia SOI. This assessment will measure around 30 skills for every student from grade 1 to grade 12 at the beginning of the year. And the AI will automatically generate a set of activities, cognitive activities. It has nothing to do with any subject. They are similar to the logical stuff that you might face in SAT later on, or GRE or whatever. Very beautiful content. And this content will create this kind of development of the various skills along 5 areas: memory, comprehension, analysis and critical thinking, creativity, and problem solving. And after each activity, there is mastery test until end of the year. So those 80 hours, some of them are done online, some of them in print, some of them in class, some of them outside of the class. But the main point, when we first did the first test for our schools, we realized that strong students are not necessarily all strong in cognitively. Many of them are average, which means next year even their academic performance can come down. And weak students are not all weak cognitively. Some of them are aspirational. Some of them are near talented. But when we went into the details of this specific student who's performing very weak academically, but he's very sharp, we realized that there are some context. Either they have some issues at home, he doesn't know, he doesn't have a safe place to study, there are family issues, there are different types of things. So, and this assessment would recognize or discover early any issues that he might have, like dyslexia, dyscalculia, semantic issues. So all kinds of learning difficulties that usually are not discovered early at an early stage. They are discovered after a certain advanced stage when medical intervention is needed. But before medical intervention, there is a range of areas where you can deal with them pedagogically, psychologically, and in order to put students back on track and understand what are the weaknesses and strengths of every student. This is a very powerful tool based on an AI, but based on also neuroscience, educational psychology, and pedagogical methodologies. These are examples that I'm telling you that we implement in schools. This is not something that we are saying it will come one day. This is something that we have been implementing.
And since how long we are doing this?
4 or 5 years. I mean, this is, all these are new after AI
Right.
became available publicly. But the important part is that the change is tremendous. I mean, the personality of the students, their approach towards learning, their approach to our real life problems, towards solving different types of problems, facing new unknowns in life, facing a future that might bring so many surprises or innovations or whatever, they're ready for it.
And
This
what
is very
impact did
crucial.
this created on teachers?
This is a very good question. In this entire journey, it's easy to put infrastructure in school. It's easy to buy technology. It's easy to even bring international content or locally developed content or develop your own content. One of the main difficulties is the teachers. At the beginning, because many of them were not tech savvy, so they would have a lot of resistance at the beginning. But then when they realize how things are improving and that they are being helped and not replaced by technology, and their role is becoming more humane rather than a robot repeating everything on the board and erasing it and then writing it again in this next section. And so now the teachers are realizing that their role is by far more than just transferring knowledge or covering the curriculum, because the normal terminology which was there in the schools, we covered the curriculum. We have to cover chapter 5, 6, 7, 8. We did that. What was the impact on the students? What did we build out of these students? What kind of competencies or real life experiences or attitudes that the students have gone through to build their personality and so on? No measurement at that time. Now it all can be measured. And the teachers, the more they understand this, the more they realize their mission, and the passion starts to appear in their implementation. And the more successes the more trials and successes. Now there are fears. Many teachers who are not technology specialized, they fear the fact that students might know more than them in technology. And this is a fact. I mean, I'm a PhD and consider myself a very advanced tech person, but my son, who's not at all a technology-oriented person, knows much more than me in using social media and all these gadgets and new applications, even AI.
Right.
So the concept of being older means knowing more in everything has gone forever. And it's okay if one of the students inside the class knows more than the teacher in technology.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm a teacher of English or languages or humanities or sociology, not necessarily a technology teacher. So it is important to drive the change in the mentality of the teachers.
True.
And if you want to ask me about how do you define your intervention in any school? In one sentence or phrase, I would say change management.
Change?
Change management. You need to manage change. And now change management is a science. You can have a PhD in change management. It's no more haphazard interventions and trial and error and all this stuff. You have to understand the existing situation. You have to evaluate the people, especially the teachers. What are their characteristics, their attitude towards change, towards technology, towards the concept and approaches of pedagogy and the real building of a new generation to serve tomorrow's workplace and tomorrow's life in general, and then build a 3 to 5 years change management strategy where each and every person in the school will have a clear path where you are today and where you should be after 3 to 5 years. Some of them would say, I don't want to go, thank you very much. This is my resignation. But many of them, after now, the ABC of change management, by the way, if you are to introduce change to any organization, expect that maybe 5% of the existing people would be very excited and role models for change. Another 10 to 15%, they're against you. They refuse change 100%. Whatever you say, whatever you convince them, whatever you show them, they're against. They think this is heresy or this is something. And the rest, 80, 70%, would stay in the gray area and wait. If you succeed, they say, yes, we were supporting from the beginning. If you fail, they say, you see, we told you it doesn't work. So this is normal. So when we enter into schools, we expect all this to happen.
True.
And we try to diffuse any negativity in order to make the 3-4 years at the beginning pass. Then you will have a clear idea about who should stay, who should leave, who can cope with the change, who can be kind of repositioned in a way, because you have to be also somehow, you have to be humane when you deal with those people. You cannot just come and work in a mechanical way, get them all out and bring new teachers who are more aligned with our philosophy. So the main challenge for us is how to transform people rather than replace them. Because replacing them at the national level will create a crisis. If you're talking about 100,000 teachers and 80,000 needs to be replaced, where are you going to get the replacement?
One question which I want to ask you is, you work across the world and you deal with different cultures, different countries and different kind of people. What is the difference, or what is the difference you're able to see between a developing country education system and developed country education system?
Look, the advancement in education doesn't have necessarily to be related to the economical categorization of the country. For example, if you look at the results of international assessments like PISA or others, you see Singapore at the top, you see Finland, you see such countries, and you see maybe US is number 12 and Germany is number 30. So although those developed countries must put much more priority on modernizing their educational system to be preparing tomorrow's generation that will take them to another hype because of the fierce competition between them as developed countries. However, this might not be the case. I mean, many times, let's say India or Pakistan, they've been known for in their conventional educational system for focusing on math, mainly math and some sciences, physics and so on. This is why when IT became a hype in the 90s, so many students were going into computer science, and then when the internet started and outsourcing business became something normal, then most of the IT services in the US or in other countries were outsourced to people in India. And many of the technology companies came to India and created a lot of development places and so on. In almost every city in India, you have the Microsofts and the Googles and everything. Because the educational system that was there produced people that have the skills that were required then.
Which you mentioned in the earlier,
Yes.
the same set of people for the same set of skill set.
But now things are changing. Even India cannot stay with the same system.
Absolutely.
And a major part of the existing educational system puts a lot of pressure on the student and on the teacher for memorizing so many unused content or knowledge or whatever,
Which is not required even.
which is not required and which will not add anything to the build up of such a person who will be later on put in a different context in a new world where he's not prepared to deal with. So you need to re-engineer the educational system. Now, in my opinion, the differences between one country to another is not whether it's developed or not developed. It's in the flexibility of the regulators.
Yeah, true.
If the regulators are future oriented, like UAE, for example. UAE is one of the most advanced Arab countries in this trend because since 20 years, they started looking at how to modernize education, and still they have a long way to go, especially in public education. In private sector, they follow either the American or the US or the Indian or whatever, as long as it's a viable and money-making business, that it survives. However, what I'm telling you is something that requires flexibility and some futuristic vision and implementation, because those two exist here big time in UAE. But the implementation, when you go down to implement, this is where you start having all kinds of hurdles from the ministry's second or third layer to the regional layers, all the way to the school management and the teachers. All might put different types of resistances. So whatever you put at the high level, it might not reach the student or the classroom where the real interaction happens. So this is why even at the national level, they need a change management strategy, not only at the school level. So countries that are able to change their regulations and have the tools to implement it and quality assurance and make sure that it is being implemented and giving the right incentives for people to implement it, because people, if they don't have any incentive or they don't have any benefit from all this 1 hour discussion that we have been doing, they prefer to do things the way they know it.
True.
And they will tell you, let the next generation do whatever you're talking about. This is too advanced for us and it's too early to implement it. While the fact is that, no, we're late. It's not too early. So this is very important, very crucial, very strategic. But at the same time, students or people in charge should look at the entire picture rather than at specific parts of it.
Right.
School principal would look at what are the criteria that would make the school owners happy, or what does it mean that the school is succeeding, increasing number of students, parents happy, students, maybe teachers are okay, are not leaving the school, and it's making money. I mean, such things are limited. You need to look at what kind of graduates you're preparing for tomorrow.
Broader angle.
Broader angle.
Yeah.
And you need to consider yourself as partner in developing the entire society and economy.
So you mentioned two terms when we started our podcast. One is leading edge, and one is
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge and leading edge. And you mentioned that in leading edge, it may be we spend 15 years or 20 years. And similarly, I believe in cutting edge as well, we spend 20 years, 25 years.
Yes, of course.
So from nursery or UK to, the KG to 12th, we spend almost 15 years.
I was talking about software development and engineering.
Okay. So one question I want to ask you is how you define Indian education system in one sentence and Lebanon education system in one sentence.
Look, I'm not expert in Indian system, but I have a lot of experience with Indian schools and a lot of friends and partners in India. The system is solid, but at the same time rigid. It needs to be more flexible and prepare new generation of entrepreneurs and innovators rather than solid engineers and conventional industrial age graduates. So I know there is a lot of efforts that are being done.
And why I'm asking this question is because in our country, specifically when I talk about India, government promotes a lot of that. Most of the top companies have Indian CEOs.
Yes, of course. I mean, look, this is the same said about Lebanon, although Lebanon is a very small country compared to India, maybe smaller than most of the cities. However, it's not necessarily the educational system that would prepare a CEO. It's the lifestyle or the social system. I say in Lebanon, we have a lack of social system that creates entrepreneurs more than the conventional educational system that would try to regulate them. So you need a combination in life, and this is a big lesson that I learned in Japan. Japan is a very disciplined country, extremely disciplined to the extent that too much discipline would kill innovation. Lebanon is totally opposite. There is no discipline. People are free to do whatever they want, especially that in my age there was war, and the government is now somehow weak. But this open social system would train you to survive. In any situation you can survive.
True.
So, but surviving or creating new ideas, if you don't have discipline, you cannot transform the idea from cutting edge to leading edge. You cannot transform an idea into a product or a service. So you need both. So the right balance, which differs from one nation to another, between openness, innovation, futuristic mentality, and so on, and discipline and process and quality assurance, this combination is what creates real development and renaissance and moving the country to another level. India is a huge country. It has a lot of ongoing things. A lot of technology companies are based there. A lot of international CEOs are Indians and so on. This is great. But again, like Lebanon, we have a myth in Lebanon. Every Lebanese, wherever he goes, he's excellent. It's not the case. Some of them are average, some of them are below average.
Absolutely.
So the educational system, the old educational system, globally, used to graduate 2 to 3% top notch, and the others are average or below average. This is why there are philosophers, like a Canadian philosopher called Alain Donot, who says this is a mediocre system. This educational system prepares the average people. It cannot prepare innovators. But in India, 2% of the Indian graduates is probably CEOs of the entire world. So if the system produces 2% excellent people, then of course you can see them everywhere. But there are so many other.
True. What about 98%?
What about the other 98%? So now you need to think about how this excellence can be spread into more percentages across India, regardless of their economic or social or parents' background or whatever. Every student, if he goes through a good national educational system, should have the opportunity to shine.
And 2% Indians are just CEOs, not the creators of the company. That's the difference, you know.
Well, again,
Yeah.
for example, here we have certain, in our companies even, I mean, my financial managers or CFOs have always been from India because they're very good in crunching numbers and so on. Lately, data science and areas like this, because they're strong in math, as I told
Yeah.
you. However, there are areas that they need to develop more. I mean, I have some friends in India who are extremely innovative, but those are very rare to find. And if you find, you will be competing with Google and Meta
Yeah.
to get them.
Yeah.
While the majority are very good implementers. Give them technical specs, 200 pages, they will implement it as is. But very few would come and tell you, no, in page 20, this should not be done like this. It should be done like that. They're not raised to have the academic courage to say their own original opinion. This is why I told you one of the core competencies that is required now, and one of the lessons I learned the hard way in my experience in building companies is that never bring an employee that you as a CEO or as a chairman or whatever know more than him in his field. Otherwise, you will be micromanaging the whole thing. You need to have innovators in every
Field. And
field, and of
department.
course who are highly disciplined. This is why I told you this balance between innovation and discipline is a magic for the future.
And through this podcast, if I ask you 3 messages, one is for management or teachers or principal, whosoever in the school community. The second is for parents, and third is for students. So what messages you want to give through this podcast?
One message for all of them: don't be afraid of development and technology, but and keep in mind that you have to maintain your own ethics, your own values when dealing with change. For management, don't block any new ideas that come up, but at the same time, don't follow commercial companies that come to sell you products. Go deep into the educational and even psychological impact of any tool or any methodology that you apply.
Right, because at the end of the day, they are working to the creators of the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the teachers, don't be afraid of technology. You cannot survive without having AI and technology around. So go have some training on that, prompt engineering, or how to deal with at least generative AI, in order to, as we said during the discussion, to use it as a tool to help you innovate the different approaches and different methodologies and how to deal with hard problems like integrating those core competencies into teaching English language or physics or whatever. So teachers have to be open-minded in dealing with technology. Don't be afraid. Try to understand it. But the main message is that your brain is the master. Your human intelligence should have the upper hand, and AI is an assistant for you. It can do a lot of jobs on your behalf. It can facilitate your life, but don't let it replace your brain by submitting to whatever it gives you.
Right.
And this same message to the students, by the way. So AI will always be there, but we have to know how to deal with AI in order to keep the human added value and how to control whatever AI applications are around us.
One important thing I'm able to learn from through this podcast is, when there was no AI, the teachers were acting like a robots. And when there is AI, the teacher should act like a human.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
acting like a
exactly.
human. Yeah.
Although the myth or what you can feel from your discussions with educational communities is the opposite. They think
True.
that with AI they become robots.
And
On
they,
the
and they will
opposite.
get replaced. Yeah.
Exactly, that's an excellent point. Before AI, they used to do a lot of repetitive jobs like robots.
True.
And maybe 10, 18, 20% innovation or creating, using their higher order thinking skills or human
Yeah.
intelligence. Now it's opposite. Now the what they are losing, and they are sad that AI is replacing them, is actually the labor work that they used to do, which did not require their human intelligence. So this should free them
Yeah.
to do more human intelligence and give the AI some of the jobs that
so
they
that they
used
can become a real human being as well.
Exactly.
So tomorrow I'm taking a workshop in World School Summit. So on AI itself. So I'm gonna use a lot of examples or learnings from you
Excellent.
through this podcast. Actually, that becomes my exercise or the learning for tomorrow's workshop. Yeah.
Excellent.
So thank you so much for coming and
Thank
joining
you,
us for
such a
this
pleasure.
podcast. I hope audience is gonna love this, because right now, if I talk about learning, the real value of AI is very important. People are getting afraid, as you mentioned, and even teachers, management, school, everyone is getting afraid that AI is going to replace a lot of people.
Yes.
So I'm amazed to see that you started online school long back. And now, if I talk about the real requirement is right now, the online schooling, and you started everything, way back. So when I talk about AI also, you learned AI when there was no AI, and right now the AI world is going on. So, after learning before the time and implementing after the time, how you feel like?
Well, it has a positive and a negative side. The positive side is that you're ahead of time. You know what is coming,
Yeah.
and you start implementing, experimenting, and then expanding, and becoming the guru or the leader in the region in certain
Yeah.
fields. And this gives you a lot of self-satisfaction and a lot of impact. The negative side is that from a commercial or marketing, or because I'm also an entrepreneur, it's not that I'm only an academic or technical person. I had to start my own companies and deal with a big number of employees and deal with terminologies that I didn't know. At one point in time, I was quite a group wanted to acquire my company in Dubai, which was 9 months old. I didn't have any audited accounts, anything, and they came and started, all Indian CFOs speaking very high level financial language which I didn't understand. So I had to take 2-3 short courses from Harvard Business School online overnight, so that after 2-3 days I had the information I know in order to negotiate for the acquisition and the deal. So what I'm saying is that
that's a power of online learning as well.
Exactly.
Immediately it's available.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just in time.
And just in one click.
And but this also puts you at odds with the norms of the market. For example, let's say schools. Schools now, if the mode is to have learning management systems, they will go, and you will see so many companies is coming and selling learning management system or virtual learning environments or some kind of content. We've done that 25 years ago. So now they're starting to realize it's important, but you might be sitting doing nothing and with no business for 25 years. And this is what I called the penalty of innovation. Sometimes if you're way ahead of the market, you have to wait for the market to mature.
Yeah.
So you need to find something else to do to survive, so that the market would come. Even those what we discussed today, you will come back after 15 years and you will hear so many people are talking about it in schools.
Yeah.
This is where your initial question about cutting edge and leading edge comes into implementation. If you are ahead of the market, you make your breakthroughs, you implement your proof of concept, you do your initial projects, you expand, but the market is not receptive enough before they do their own resistance cycle and say, no, this is a fade, this will not survive. What is this internet It's nothing. What is this social media? It's nothing. What's this smartphones? It's nothing. And then until they realize that it's a fact and they have to survive with it, then they start to change. So you as an innovator and as an early market entry leader will have to wait. Of course, you keep fighting, you keep creating awareness, you keep implementing different level types of projects. You will become busy with time.
Like we started robotics in, it's been a decade now. We started 10 years back. I still remember when I used to go for a meetings, sales meetings for schools, with schools, principals were like, where is robot? They were thinking some robotics company is coming for a meeting.
They thought
will
some
come with a
humanoid.
robot. Yeah, exactly. So of course there are challenges and there are benefits as well. And I still remember during the COVID time, I got a lot of
This
calls.
creates a lot of passion
Yeah.
and creates a meaning.
Yeah.
Why are we working on this? Is it something commercial business or
Of course, it's a commercial business, but it's more passion business as well.
passion
Yeah.
and impact?
Yeah, I really want to transform the education system from theoretical to hands-on practice, which is need of an hour. And I still remember during the COVID, I got a lot of calls from principals asking, "What is Zoom?"
Yeah. I mean, it was terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
the way the world, even the entire world,
Yeah.
even advanced countries were not prepared at all.
Yeah, just imagine a system which is preparing the future of the country is not equipped with the
Exactly.
technology.
And that was a
Yeah.
big uncovering
Yeah,
moment for schools and universities
Right.
during COVID.
yeah. So I guess this podcast can go on. I really loved talking to you, and
Thank you.
knowing
My
about
pleasure.
your-
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
And I hope that people would love
Definitely,
discussion.
definitely. This content is going to be amazing.